Okay, good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Police Advisory Accountability Committee meeting on Wednesday, June 17, 2026. I'll request the Assistant City Manager, Robinson Pinion, to please call the roll.
All right, good evening. Member
Present.
Member Kamina.
Present.
Member Nguyen is not present at the moment. Member Rodas.
Present.
Member Tokalahi.
Present.
Vice Chair Ruiz.
Present.
Chair Davidi.
Present.
Alternate Member Locks.
Okay.
Noting that alternate Member Locks is present and is walking to the dais. And alternate Member Valdez. Absent. All right. We have a quorum.
I will. Okay, sorry. I will now invite this chair. I will now invite the Assistant City Manager Robinson to address the interpretation of public comment for the meeting, please.
Thank you, Chair Davidi. Before we begin, we would like to announce that this meeting will include Spanish language simultaneous and consecutive interpretation provided by qualified interpreters on the Spanish channel. If watching on Zoom, you can join the Spanish channel by clicking on the interpretation icon in the Zoom toolbar. It looks like a globe. If you're attending in person and don't have access to the Zoom meeting from your mobile device, please come see Ms. Komoda or me, and we'll get you set up with a device so you can listen to the meeting in Spanish. As a reminder, we ask anyone participating tonight to kindly speak slowly to allow our interpreter to effectively express your comments.
Gracias. Antes de comenzar, nos gustaría anunciar que esta reunión contará con interpretación simultánea y consecutiva al español, a cargo de intérpretes calificados en el canal de español. Si nos ve a través de Zoom, podéis acceder al canal de español haciendo clic en el icono de interpretación de la barra de herramientas de Zoom, que ahora aparece como un globo terráqueo. Si asiste en persona y tiene acceso a la reunión y no tiene acceso a la reunión de Zoom desde su dispositivo móvil, acérquese a la señora Comodo o a mí y le proporcionaremos un dispositivo para que siga la reunión en español. Como recordatorio, también pedimos que a todos los participantes de esta noche hablen despacio para que nuestro intérprete pueda transmitir eficazmente sus comentarios.
This meeting is being recorded, and members of the public can watch online or listen by phone by calling 669-444-9171 using the meeting ID 822-1885-1893. There will be an opportunity for public comment for those participating in person. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide their comments. We invite each of you to introduce yourselves by name before presenting your comments. We are offering closed captioning for this evening's meeting on Zoom. Please select the live transcript button on Zoom to enable this feature. In addition, viewers may request a reasonable accommodation to provide public comment virtually. For more information about that, or if you experience any technical difficulties, please email the PAC at paac@cityofsanrafael.org.
All right, let's go over other agendas. I'd like to ask for a staff report. Are there any reports from our staff liaisons?
No reports this month. Next month when we meet, we will go over our quarterly complaints and DFR and safe team stats.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant Eberman. Meeting in July? Yeah, there's no meeting in July, just as a friendly reminder. Okay, I will now like to ask for committee reports. I will start with Member Alm, please.
Chair, I have no report.
Okay, thank you. Member Kamina?
Hi, good evening. I do have a few things. Mainly, I wasn't able to be at the last meeting, so I watched the video of what happened, and I know it's not on the agenda tonight, but I wanted to mention that I was very pleased with the amount of education that's provided by the San Rafael Police Department on the issue of traffic. But one thing I noticed was that the topic of speed cameras, I didn't see that it came up in the meeting, and I just would like my thoughts to go on this annual report that I actually think it would be a great idea to look at speed cameras in some of the areas, and especially instead of narrowing the roads, which is going to happen in some areas. And the other thing that I noted was this is Elder Abuse Awareness Month or Day, which is the same day that we have to pay our taxes, and I don't know if that's intentional or not. But I also want to recognize that Friday is Juneteenth and Sunday is Father's Day. So other comments I have were more on the topic that we're going to come back to later tonight.
Thank you, Member Kamina. Member Nguyen is absent. We will go to Member Rodas.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening to everybody. Likewise, like Ms. Kamina, I also unfortunately missed last meeting. I'm part of the school board, so I had responsibilities on that side of the end. On June 3rd, I finished the 10-week San Rafael Police Community Police Academy, which was a great experience. I know I shared with other people that it's sort of like taking a class behind the scenes and seeing some of the work our police department does that we may not see out on the street. And on June 10th, I attended Davidson Middle School's promotion, and on June 11th, I attended San Rafael High School's graduation. So I want to give a big shout out and congratulations to all of our students within our city for graduating and promoting and furthering their education. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Ruiz.
I assist the meeting from Picowell Park. I am part from the committee, and I assist to the graduation from my son in Terlinda High School. He finished high school. And we, Voces del Canal, we still working about tenants' right. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ruiz. Congrats to your son.
Thank you.
Member Tokolahi.
I have nothing to report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's go to alternate member Locks.
Yes, good evening, thank you. Nothing to report as far as any comments from the community to me, but I did want to say that I'm planning to participate in the Canal Alliance and San Rafael's Police Department gathering that's going to be happening at 6 o'clock on June 24th. And just want to put a shout out for more participation on that. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. And as for me, I attended an event sponsored by San Rafael Chamber of Commerce for their Leadership Institute, which is Home is Where the Art Is. It was actually a very interesting program where they bring in the homeless demographic who are artists, and they display their art, and people can purchase their art, and as a way to get people to get to know homeless and who are artists, which I thought there's some amazing art that I saw. I attended an event from Elm, Enriching Lives Through Music, by Jane Kramer. It's an organization here in East San Rafael. They advocate for kids in the canal to teach them classical music. That was pretty amazing. I went to an event in Marin City through Marin Promise Partnership, learning more about the demographic of Marin City and advocating for youth and addressing the disparity and helping youth be at the same level of other kids in Marin as far as access to education and resources. There was an event for Memorial Day at the Civic Center as well. And then lastly, one of my favorites, I was invited by Omar from Canal Alliance. The Canal has its own football club, soccer league. It's called FC Canal. And in the past, they would recruit kids from the Canal to play in other high schools, but now we're going to have Canal is going to have its own soccer league at the brand new stadium. And they really are investing a lot of time, money, and energy wanting to get these kids to play professionally or, get grants for scholarship for college. So it's nice to see the investment being done locally. I will end my report on that. And I will go to the next thing.
Mr. Chair, before you go on, can I just offer for the benefit of committee member Kamina, this would have been answered if it came up in our last meeting, so I just want to offer it for the benefit of the committee. So speed cameras are operating in 6 jurisdictions in California under pilot legislation, and it won't be available unless it's amended. It won't be available to other organizations until 2032. But the police department and Public Works are continuing to monitor that in the event that that becomes available for enforcement purposes.
Thank you very much. I'm aware of that law, and I was just hoping that if it was said out loud, maybe someone could bring
Go to
it forward
Sacramento
to
and, yeah.
make that date earlier. Thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, I like to invite public comment on staff and committee liaison reports. Are there any public comments on staff and committee liaison reports? Okay, I see none. Do we have any online? No public, okay, let's go. Okay, once there's no more comment, I will close public comment. Meeting minutes, regular meeting minutes from the May 20th meeting. Are there any questions on the draft minutes from the committee? I'll ask in this order. Member Alm,
Chair, I have no questions.
Member Camina,
I reviewed them, but I wasn't here, so I don't think I can make a motion on it.
okay. Thank you. Member Rodas,
No comments.
Member Ruiz,
No.
Member Tokolahi,
No questions.
alternate member Locks.
I did get community comments about when they read the minutes. There's some areas they thought needed to be just a couple of sentences added, because otherwise it does not reflect all of our activity, even though I know according to our BCC that the minutes are not to be exhaustive. But that was one comment that I did receive. And otherwise, I have no other comments.
Thank you.
Actually, I just noticed under meeting minutes, it says that I voted. Am I reading that incorrectly? On page,
Well,
and I wasn't here.
item number 2.
On item number 2 on the third page?
Yes.
Is it-
Can you
so
make that
would-
correction?
Correction, sorry, I
Okay.
didn't notice that before.
Thank you for catching that.
Probably Mr. Rodas also.
Thank you. Yeah, I have no comments either. I would like to invite public comments on the draft minutes. Are there any public comments?
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. It's beautiful outside. It'd be more fun if we were out there. I would like to just second that the notes don't really help if you're not here to see what happened or what each of you thought about things. And I noticed that the most comprehensive notes were city staff updates, but not anything else. And I also would love clarification on what committee member Camina said, because I thought the same thing, that if you weren't at a meeting, you couldn't move to approve minutes. But I asked county council at a county meeting about that, and they said because there's and you did say you watched the video, because there are ways to watch the meeting when you weren't there. Like if it's not county council at the county thought you can do it, and that was something that I'm on a commission where you can't do it if you weren't there. So I'd love clarification from the city on what the rule is here around that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Komodo, are there any comments online?
I can follow up with the city clerk and not county council, or city attorney's office on what the procedures are. It may be addressed in the board, commission, and committee guidance, but I don't have that information immediately available, but I'll certainly follow up.
Thank you for that feedback. Ms. Komodo, are there any online participants?
We don't have any participants online right now.
Okay, thank you. I will close public comment. I'd like to ask if there's any comments from the committee. Member Alm?
No comment.
Member Camina?
Minutes? I thought,
Oh, it says comments in my notes, questions? Sorry,
The first round is questions, public comment, then back to comments from the committee members.
okay, so yeah, we're on, so we're doing this right. Member Nunes not here. Member Rodas, any comments?
No comments.
Member Ruiz?
No comments.
Member Tokolahi?
None.
Alternate Member Locks?
I would like to put forth a motion. I would like to put forth a motion. That's
Okay.
my comment.
Okay.
I'd like to put forth a motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
Chair, I'll second the
Okay,
motion.
second. Okay. So I'll have to ask for a roll call, please.
All right. Member Om,
Approve.
Member Locks,
Appro-
Member
Approve.
Kamina, Member Kamina,
Approved.
Member Nguyen is absent, Member Rodas,
Approve.
Member Ruiz,
Approve.
Member Tokalahi, Chair DeViti.
Approve.
Motion
Just
passes.
for the record, I have no comment either. I didn't go over my name. Just want to follow the protocol. All right, cool. I would like to open for public expression. Are there any public comments or any matter that's not listed on the agenda?
Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Buenas tardes. Ya me conocen, mi nombre es Gabriel. Hola, Samala. Pues yo estoy aquí por un caso que yo tuve anteriormente, yo creo que los traje ante ustedes hace como 2 meses atrás. Yo creo que tienen conocimiento de eso, pero el detective Scott me atendió muy amablemente hoy y solo voy a quedar en la espera. Es todo, gracias.
Hello to all. My name is Gabriel. I think you all know who I am already. Hello. I think a lot of you know about the case that I was a part of recently, and Detective Scott helped me, and he's helping me still. And I guess that's all. I just want to say that I'll be on standby. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hello again. I just want to bring to your attention again, I speak un poquito de español and the interpretation was not accurate. I keep writing in and saying that we should have accurate interpretation for Spanish speaking participants. It doesn't help to build trust when what you hear, if you don't speak Spanish, isn't what the speaker said. And I would encourage the city to get someone who's certified, and not everyone who is certified is good at doing it, and to have people who speak Spanish weigh in on that. You have several members on your committee who are fluent in Spanish, who can help with that probably. I also wanted to bring back around what I talked about last time, and I would love to hear from all of you what you think you have done to support the community while on this committee. Because as I highlighted last time, the things you have voted for are drones. Both time we talked about military equipment, and the things you have undone the voting on were you hear at many of these meetings about racial profiling for traffic stops and other incidents, and when there was a strategy to reduce that, that went to several members and got completely undone, and nothing ever happened. I also want to remind you that at the January meeting, the chief said, please ask us to look into things. If you want a survey on culture, ask us to research that and do that. But I don't hear this committee asking staff or the chief to take things back and report back to you. I hear you sticking to the agenda, voting on things, and then just leaving still unclear sometimes if people have read the packet and are prepared, if people have talked to community members and are highlighting voices and people most impacted by policing, and would love to see you make that shift. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other public comment. Mr. Rizzo, is there anybody online?
There are no online comments.
Okay, thank you. Before we move to the regular agenda item, let's toggle the interpreters, please.
And we can proceed with the first item. The first few items on the agenda went quickly, so the interpreters are okay to maintain on their channels through the first item.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our topic of the agenda, Youth and Policing Working Groups Update. Member Alm and Antonio Zavala will present. It's exciting to have one of our own. Thank you for stepping up here.
Before they get started, I'll just give you a brief introduction before they move into their presentation. So for context, the Youth and Policing Working Group was formed back in 2024, or actually that's when it was presented. The initial topic was presented in September of 2024. During the January 11th, 2025 special work planning session, it was identified again as a priority topic. At the March 2025 meeting, a Youth and Policing Work Group was formed. At that time, former youth member Marilyn Alvarez and member Alm became a part of that working group. Over the last 15 months, Mr. Alm has continued to work on it. Member Alvarez is no longer our youth member. We now have Mr. Rodas here. So this evening, Mr. Alm and Mr. Zavalos will provide an update on their findings, the work that they've accomplished over the last 15 months, and answer any questions from the committee and from the public. So at this time, I'll turn it over to them for their presentation.
Thank you.
Could first, Antonio, just give some acknowledgements. I want to thank you, Chair Emeritus Tokalahi, for selecting myself and Marilyn to be on the first subcommittee for youth. I hope we can continue with the subcommittee and moving it forward. Would like to see Member Rodas on that in the future, and maybe somebody else. Do definitely want to thank Marilyn Alvarez for her participation in the subcommittee. She was a very important member, and we had a lot of great interaction. I want to also acknowledge we met with the Marin County Youth Commissioners in May of 2025. We did give a report back on that, but it does also have some influence in a tertiary way to this presentation tonight. Also want to thank the participants in our youth study in partnership with Youth Transforming Justice. I want to acknowledge Lieutenant Eberly for bringing us together. I appreciate that getting us connected with Youth Transforming Justice. I think it was a great idea. I want to thank Youth Transforming Justice's staff, notably their intern, Michelle Gentos, and most importantly, Antonio Zavala, who is the Director of Programs and Operations. Thank you for your collaboration to the youth work group and all of your time and effort you put into this presentation. It really has shown through. I also want to acknowledge how impressed I am with you in your engagement with the youth. The way, during our study session, the way you were able to elucidate really insightful, thoughtful dialogue with the youth was really impressive. I liked watching you in action. It was a really interesting study. And thank you.
Of course. I also want to thank Scott and Teresa. They approached me about this 1.5 years ago, and at the moment, I didn't know that this study would be my culminating experience project for my master's program that I completed a month ago. So it worked out perfectly. And along with Danielle, I also want to recognize former PAC member Marilyn Alvarez and Michelle Gonto as well. They couldn't be here with us today. They were with us every phase of this project. So thank y'all. And Daniel and I are looking forward to jumping into this.
Let's go.
Yes. Next slide. Awesome. So session overview. The attitudes of youth and law enforcement are an important area of inquiry, given the central role that youth-police interactions play in shaping both individual behaviors and broader community safety outcomes. Scholarship demonstrates that youth perceptions of police legitimacy significantly influence their willingness to engage with law enforcement, whether through cooperation, reporting on victimization, or participation in community-based initiatives. These interactions occur across a spectrum of contexts, ranging from informal, non-enforcement engagements, such as proactive policing, to more formal encounters initiated by either youth or police, where those involved in victimization or suspected wrongdoing. These interactions are not formed in isolation. Rather, they are shaped by a range of contextual factors, such as neighborhood conditions, exposure to crime, and experiences or observations of police conduct.
Our next slide. So a timeline of our study in May, October of 2025. Members of the PAC and Youth Transforming Justice met to shape the focus of the assessment by generating questions and data sources. November 2025, Youth Transforming Justice and PAC collected primary data from youth. June of this year, our assessment findings are being presented to you, the PAC, to strengthen trust and improve outcome in youth policing interactions. In July of 2026, our goal is assessment findings and recommendations are considered, in a final report. Next slide.
Next slide. This was a mixed method research study with a qualitative dominant approach that relied on both survey responses and open-ended interviews to explore the following research questions. Number one, what is the demographic profile of juvenile justice youth in San Rafael? What are youth's perceptions of law enforcement? What are their personal experiences with the San Rafael Police Department? And what are solutions to improving trust between law enforcement and youth? At the start of this study, I shared flyers with professors and with other youth serving organizations here in Marin. And all the youth who participated in the study are between the ages of 15 to 25, and they live or attend school in San Rafael. The reason that we went all the way to age 25, that's the age of maturation. So that's when your frontal lobe connects with the rest of the brain. So that's where we see risk-taking really start to dip. Participants completed a survey about their interactions with law enforcement and attended listening sessions to assess their level of trust, perception of fairness, and a sense of safety regarding the San Rafael Police Department. It's also important to note that on September 2022, the San Rafael City School District terminated their contract with the school resource officer position. And all of the youth who were interviewed, or I want to say most of the youth who were interviewed, had direct contact with the patrol officer.
Next slide.
And that's me. The sessions were co-facilitated by Daniel and I and structured using a listening session guide. The guide included, number one, guidelines for successful listening session, two, the purpose for the study, three, an anonymous post on Padlet, which is a digital whiteboard, and fourth, how to collect their $25 gift cards. An anonymous survey using the application Padlet was developed and shared. At the end of each listening session, a QR code was uploaded to a television screen. The youth scanned that QR code and then went in and posted anonymous thoughts and feelings that were lingering from the discussion that we had earlier.
And our next slide. The information from Bureau of Justice Statistics on contacts between police shows that youth 16 to 24 years are disproportionately involved in police-initiated contacts, where they account for nearly 1/5 of encounters. That's 18.2%. A key reason this demographic has a heightened level of risk-taking is their participation in behaviors that could harm the well-being and health of the individual and those around them, which is tied to adolescent brain development.
Right slide on right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, introducing the next bit. Neuroscientific studies have found that the brain regions responsible for reward processing develop earlier than those required for cognitive control. This results in youth having an oversensitized reward system which rewards individuals with pleasurable chemical releases in the brain for engaging in challenging and risky behavior. While risk-taking rates spike during adolescence, evidence suggests a decline in this behavior as youth enter adulthood, a pattern that correlates with reduced offender rates. If we could go to the next slide.
What we see in 2023 is that the San Rafael Police Department made 69 referrals to probation, and 24 of those ended up in bookings. The following year, that number of referrals dropped to 67, and the bookings increased to 25. About 11.9 of the referred youth are Caucasian. In contrast, Latino residents make up about 34% of the population, but account for nearly 2/3 of the youth referred. Next slide.
In this slide, we're going over referrals to probation by gender category. Total referrals 2023, 69. In 2024, 67. You can see overwhelmingly male. Despite the smaller or similar population under age 18, males account for the vast majority of referrals for a total of 125 over the year studies.
Next slide. Overall, arrests have maintained relatively similar between 2023 and 2024, while misdemeanors have decreased, felonies have increased year over year. Following a significant drop during COVID-19, violent and property felonies, particularly auto theft, weapons offenses, and retail theft spiked. And these incidents were concentrated within younger adults and older youth. Next slide.
In this slide, we're looking at an overall trend of juvenile arrests by offense type and within the county. Overall, arrests decreased drastically between 2018 and 2021 before increasing in 2022 and 2023. During the decline, most arrests were misdemeanors. As crime has increased post-2021, misdemeanor and felony arrests are occurring at a similar rate. Our next slide.
Next slide. Youth's attitudes toward police determine their willingness to engage and cooperate with law enforcement. Their perception of police shape the character of the interactions, which can either foster trust and support or support police efforts to build positive relationships, or in some cases, hinder police from doing their jobs due to feelings of mistrust and hostility. Next slide. Overall research provides a strong basis that community and demographic factors, as well as perception of procedural justice, affects youth attitudes and perceptions towards police. Location and community conditions shapes youth views of police, how an area's characteristics such as the socioeconomic level, crime level, neighborhood disorganization, and police presence can influence a law enforcement's decisions and behaviors regarding detention or arrest. In places with higher crime and community disorder, law enforcement exerts greater risk and threats to community safety. As a means of controlling danger, they are more likely to use detention and arrest. Youth living in these communities, often low-income communities with a strong police presence on the streets, can feel targeted and become cautious of law enforcement, negatively affecting their attitude towards law enforcement. A relationship exists between a young person's age, race, gender, and attitude towards police. Youth are more often arrested than adults. This may explain why youth report less favorable views of law enforcement than adults. Females youth tend to have more positive attitudes towards police than male youth, but gender was not a reliable predictor of attitudes. However, race was reported to be the most significant factor shaping youth attitudes towards police. Minority youth, particularly Latino and Black youth, reported more unfavorable views due to a higher level of detention, arrest, and bookings. We can look at our own data to see how it contributes to some of these feelings. Police contact shapes youth's attitudes and perceptions of law enforcement, with higher levels of contact generally associated with less favorable views. While delinquent youth's attitudes towards law enforcement do not stem entirely from prior police encounters, incidents in which youth felt treated unfairly, disrespected, or discriminated against severely erode trust in law enforcement. To prevent crime, law enforcement takes initiatives to identify risk and engage communities. This law enforcement strategy, known as proactive policing, increases youth police contacts. This approach to policing forms a contradiction in that that they recognize the value of more officers due to crime, yet increased police makes them feel as if they're being heavily surveilled and targeted. Next slide, which is a slide that I wanted to amend. I feel like this information provides or better informs the following information that we'll be covering. For the most part, the factors that shape youth attitudes toward police can interact and reinforce one another, producing distinct effects that surface a bit in our listening session. For example, youth appreciate living in low-crime neighborhoods to keep the community safe. Police target high-risk individuals, and youth, particularly lower income areas, are statistically more likely to be involved in criminal and antisocial behavior. But treating youth as delinquents fuels their unfavorable view of police. These attitudes can build distrust and increase the likelihood of future negative interactions. In turn, the hostility leads police to believe that youth do not respect them or value their job, and they begin to form negative views towards youth. The mistrust between police and youth prevents the two from building a positive rapport and supporting each other and keeping the community safe. Next slide.
It was actually, we were on slide 13. We're now on 14. Sorry. Yeah. No, we're good. Sorry. While contact can be initiated by the youth or the police and may be involve informal engagement in non-enforcement settings, such as community activities or community policing, the survey we issued specifically addressed police interactions involving enforcement. Among the 26 participants, 15% reported prior police contact resulting in an arrest, while 85% reported no such contact. Additionally, 19% of participants chose not to disclose their history with the police. Of the students who reported an arrest, 75% indicated that the San Rafael Police Department was involved, while one student was unsure of the issuing agency. In our next slide on 15. Thank you. Students shared a multitude of perspectives on policing with a focus on the San Rafael Police Department. Some of the perspectives and reflections centered on the strategies needed for an effective youth-police relationship. Teen Brain. In particular, students noted that officers receiving extensive training on how to deal with a younger population to build trust was a primary consideration. The participants wanted law enforcement to know teens react differently under stress. For favorable view, one student described the importance of developing trust through, quote, more casual involvement in the community as vital, noting that, quote, I feel more comfortable calling the police if I need help, unquote. Willingness to engage. Despite some participants voicing hesitation over contacting the police, Most mentioned feeling relaxed having a two-way conversation with them. A sense of comfort. Youth who socialized with police reported feeling that they could trust the police and there was less fear that law enforcement would use their age and inexperience with the legal system to, quote, manipulate and lie to have their upper hand to use the power and authority, unquote, against them. Rather, the students knew the police just wanted to help. And our next slide. It was also important for students to describe their personal experiences with the San Rafael PD that fostered mistrust and confusion rather than a sense of safety. As a student shared, my first interaction with the police was when I was asking for mental health support. I was put in handcuffs. I told them excessive force was being used on me and I was ignored. I felt it was unfair to be treated this way, even though I was cooperating. Now I do not feel comfortable calling the police an emergency because of my past negative experiences with them, unquote. Other students noted that beyond their personal interactions with police, social media also shapes their perspective of law enforcement, often through a negative lens that highlights police brutality, reducing trust, and legitimacy. A student mentioned that they only see negative videos of law enforcement and are now afraid to interact with them because, quote, they are scared of what they are capable of doing and getting away with, unquote. Adultisms. Another student described how if police did not treat youth differently from adults, there would be a more mutual respect. The feeling was that when police see a young person, they are more likely to, quote, accuse them and ask them questions, unquote, based on suspicion. Another student expanded on this sentiment, further emphasizing the importance of respect and trust in youth interactions. Quote, my thoughts on SRPD are good. I think they're doing their job how they should. One thing I can comment on is the way they approach people with reasonable suspicion. They come out with answers before comments. But overall, I don't have anything else to say about SRPD. They're doing their job fair and how they should. Race and policing. The topic of race played a significant role in our conversation, with one student identifying systemic and structural issues in policing as, quote, having to do with racism and our politics. It was important to the participants that the SRPD address the racial inequities in policing that are most visible to them, such as aggressive patrolling in low-income and minority neighborhoods. Misunderstanding of police duties. Aside from noting the key challenges to improving relationships between police and youth, such as historical and traumatic experiences and the disproportionate targeting of minorities, it was also important to note that some youth lack an understanding of the primary duties of police, with participants wanting law enforcement to be more actively involved in public health issues like supporting the unhoused population. Quote, police should use their platform to do more for those who are being mistreated in the community. I'm confident that they could do more in the community with feeding the unhoused, unquote. Our next slide. So interviews were transcribed manually and analyzed, and we're displaying a graphic of these transcribed interviews in a data format. Interviews experts were placed on a scale using a structural coding based on the same themes: trust, cooperation, procedural justice, and fairness. Only 42% of those students felt safe when calling the police, indicating a significant trust issue among young people. Most students were hesitant to contact the police because they feared being treated as suspects. While 100% believe the police uphold procedural justice and treat them with dignity, only 50% felt that the police acted fairly, reflecting their skepticism and how they are perceived. Students cited a trust gap rooted in racial divides and negative personal experience. Additionally, 73% 73% reported trusting the police, suggesting a moderate but not unanimous level of confidence in law enforcement. 73.
Okay,
I can get back and make sure we get you the correct information.
okay.
Next slide, please. Despite the fundamental challenges to youth-police relations that emerged, there was also general support for the San Rafael Police Department. Youth shared that overall they have a positive view of police and perceive them as upholding the law and creating safety in their schools and in their communities. Many agreed that more opportunities for engagement could foster more positive perceptions through personal interactions, thereby encouraging trust, cooperation on both sides. One student summarized, "I want to have a casual conversation with them in the community. I want to know them better." Next slide. Opportunities for solutions. To improve police-youth interactions in San Rafael, I believe that an annual courageous conversation can be facilitated by both Youth Transforming Justice, the San Rafael Police Department, and the PAC to help better understand the perception behind the person behind the badge. I'm talking about minor discussions where youth can share their version of justice and learn from officers what goes into policing to replace harmful assumptions. This is an opportunity to bridge the gap between youth and the system, to open doors for future careers in law enforcement, and to move from talking about youth to talking with them. The findings from the study revealed that youth hold complex views of law enforcement. Although many participants understand that police have a duty to maintain safety and order, serious issues emerge regarding fairness, racial equities, and law enforcement's approach to engaging with young people. They repeatedly identified specialized training in youth development and de-escalation techniques as strategies for strengthening trust. To expand opportunities for meaningful engagement and input, adding another youth position on the PAC will help elevate the voices in conversations about policing. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that comprehensive report and all the hard work you guys put in, and also the staff, Ms. Komoda, Lieutenant Everly, and everyone else involved. Thank you. Okay, I would like to ask the committee for any questions.
Starting at this end of the counter, please.
No, I will start with how it is on the roll call here. Thank you. Member you're over there, but how do we, I'll skip you. Oh, Member Kamina, can you please let us know if you have any questions about the presentation?
First of all, thank you so much for what you've done. You've put in so much time and so much energy, and your presentation was great. So first, thank you so much. Did you say that the SRO positions with the San Rafael Police Department and the schools were ended in, did you say September 2022? Is it?
Correct, 2022. And to this day, they're one of the only districts that, since the racial uprising that occurred in that year, have not reinstituted the SRO position.
So from your research, do you think that having SROs would be, does it sound like the kids would think that would be a good thing? Or not? Or
it would be difficult for me to say, since it's not something that we discussed with them, and it was actually intentional. We wanted to remove that element from the discussion, since we didn't have the buy-in from the school at that point. There was a hope that we would be able to pull them into this conversation, but it seemed like they're maybe not ready.
We were seeking their lived experience, and most of these participants actually did not have that lived experience of an SRO.
right, so I'm just assuming that most of their contacts were through the community rather than through the school. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Member Nguyen's not here. Member Rodas, any questions?
When you were conducting this, what was your sample size? Remind me again.
26.
How did you pick them?
So we sent emails out to two professors at College of Marin and Dominican University, and sent emails out to other youth-serving organizations that contained the flyer, which provided more context on what we'd be discussing. One of those organizations was the Multicultural Center, YLI, so Youth Leadership Institute, Opening the World. There might be one other organization that I might be missing.
And so within your position, do you think that'd be reflective of the youth population within our city?
I would say so. I mean, the youth that were there, you had youth who were excelling in school, and you had youth who were on probation. So we were able to capture input from both ranges, which we felt contributed to a pretty comprehensive, comprehensive set of information that we gathered from the youth.
And when you say excelling, what do you mean by that?
Doing well academically, participating in multiple after-school programs, so what you would call like your star student.
Okay, it's just, I'm not sure how 26 students would reflect the entire youth population of Santa Fe.
I wouldn't say the entire youth. I think like a real small subset. But I guess what I was trying to communicate is we captured the input from a variety of different, from a very diverse student population.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodas. Member Ruiz?
Lo voy a decir en español. Muchas gracias por la presentación, está excelente. Gracias por el tiempo que le han dedicado a esto. Pero a mí me gustaría también contribuir a decir que me gustaría que los jóvenes de las escuelas high school principalmente participaran, o middle school, de aquí del área de San Rafael. Es muy importante escuchar la opinión de ellos, que es a lo que yo pienso que se refiere mi compañero, que haya más participación. Esperemos que las escuelas en el futuro puedan interactuar con ustedes o las personas que están en este grupo, para que así haya una encuesta con más porcentaje, para que ellos comenten sus pues, interacciones con la policía o cuestiones que a ellos les están pasando. Sería muy bueno, porque aparte de lo que les pasa quizás con la policía, tal vez hay chicos que con la confianza de ustedes pueden permitirles saber más cuestiones que ellos están pasando como jóvenes. Sería muy importante. No sé cómo se haría eso, pero ojalá y se pueda, ¿no? Que con todas las escuelas se pudiera trabajar. Yo sé que es difícil, pero es un gran paso lo que ustedes están haciendo, y muchas gracias. Y esperamos en el futuro también poder colaborar con ello y traer más jóvenes para que interactúen con este grupo, que es bien importante y muy bonito. Gracias.
Gracias.
Excuse me, should we allow a quick minute for translation? Okay, can we have the translator please enlighten us with what exchanged? Okay,
Respond in English.
I think technically we need to have our translator, or can he translate?
If you can allow our translator, so those that are listening from home can also.
Okay.
Thank you. I would have been sweating if I had a.
No, all good. I can speak 30 seconds Spanish, not 2 minutes. Okay, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was excellent. And thank you so much for your time and your contributions to this presentation today. But perhaps what my colleague was referring to was that we could include more of the high school and middle school students from our area to hear their opinion and possibly what they are going through as well. Maybe later on in the future, they can participate within this project with you, have more interaction, speak about their interactions with the police or things that maybe they are going through. Maybe they could be made aware of different things and things that are going around. I know this is a difficult and arduous process, but I also want to thank you for putting all this together. And hopefully later on in the future, we can bring the youth to communicate and participate in this program with you. Process with you.
Gracias. Darlene. I want to emphasize that all of the youth who participated in this study either attend school or live in San Rafael. So all of the youth who were below the ages of 18 who participated in this study attended one of the two of the comprehensive schools, one of the continuation schools, and we had a few students who attended Marin's Community School. So it's still a very small sample size, and honestly, we were limited on the size of this study, and we're hoping that the PAC and the San Rafael City or the San Rafael Police Department would be open to considering some of the recommendations that we made, where we can do an honest effort of really pulling in a lot more youth and trying to create something meaningful here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Member Tokolahi, questions?
I don't have questions right now. I'm gonna read it. It's a lot. I'm gonna read it more. I might email you guys questions, but not now.
Thank you, sir. Alternate Member Locke, thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Antonio, you're about to defend your thesis. Okay. One of my questions, and I think Darlene did address it, is I didn't get a take that you had representation from all of the high schools. And if we're talking about the SROs, I think maybe our focus was on SROs and those interactions with students. Is that what I'm understanding? Or is it just all police rather than?
There are no SROs.
I know there are no SROs, but was that part of the thinking of perhaps, is San Rafael thinking about reinstating SROs, SROs or not?
I can't speak to that.
Okay.
I don't have that information.
Okay.
The reason why we focused it only on San Rafael youth is because this was specifically focused on any interaction that youth might have had with the San Rafael Police Department.
Yes,
we went
okay.
with all youth in Marin County, then we would have had some feedback from youth on their interactions with their respective SRO from their school district, but none of that information was presented in our study based on our sample size.
Okay. Also, I didn't get a clear picture of the racial composition and it seemed as though you recruited from organizations. There wasn't any, I didn't hear of any direct recruitment from high school students. It was via organizations. And I think when that's done, you miss people who maybe would have spoken, but they don't belong to a club.
If I
You hear
could
what I'm saying?
interject, we weren't
Yes.
allowed
Yes.
to directly solicit from the high school. So we had to go through third parties.
I don't mean person to person, but the
Correct.
communication to the principal, if any students would like to participate, you were not allowed to do that?
No, we're not.
Okay.
We did capture high school students of San Rafael through tertiary parties.
Gotcha, okay. And then, what was the last question? You did say that this was a small subset, but like I said, I didn't hear about the racial composition. What was your racial composition?
I don't have it in front of me, and I'm happy to provide you that information, but it was largely Latino youth. And when I say largely, I want to say 2/3.
Two-thirds Latino, okay. Okay, and, what was that last one? Is there a plan, or is it will it be the PAC's recommendation for a continuation of this study? Because I think considering the subject matter, I think as you said, a subset, the 26 perhaps was not a significant number of respondents to the questions that were being addressed. What are your thoughts on that?
I am open to continuing to explore other areas of focus that would provide us more insights. I guess I would really like your guys' the input of the pack to see what other areas we felt were missed that we can capture through a different approach. It's, you know, one of the is like benefits of the work that I do is that, you know, which I'm incredibly grateful for, is that I have an abundance of youth who are really civically engaged and want their voices to be uplifted. If there's something else that we could do that would not only incorporate their voices, but that would actually produce some tangible results, then I'm all open for that.
And last question, when you said that the high school students could not be recruited via their schools, is there a regulation or policy associated with that? Or was it just an advisement of not, that would be better to do the third party? Because I'm kind of,
Yeah, we were actually on track to engage directly on site in school. At the 11th hour, it was rescinded
by
the school.
By each school?
Yes.
Superintendent.
By the superintendent. Okay, so we need to know where we need to go. You see what I'm saying?
We look
By
to
the
you,
by
Member
the
Rodas.
superintendent. Okay.
Pressure, sir.
You got that, Kennedy?
So
Thank you for bringing
if
that
I
up to
could
my
make
attention.
a suggestion as for
Yes.
something maybe the PAC could recommend is, yes, we could definitely have done a better job with engagement directly.
Maybe not better, but maybe more.
More inclusive.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
And from my experience in participating as an observer in that study, everyone who was there was more than willing to share their responses. They felt like they were in a safe space. I think it would have been great to have engaged on the school site because we would be on their own grounds in their own safe space there, and really seek out their input. But definitely an opportunity.
So where was it conducted? When you're now speaking of the spaces, where was it conducted?
At Youth Transforming Justice.
Where? Oh, at youth. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to say I'm very impressed. I think getting kids to talk about this topic is not easy. As someone who defended dissertation, I have a background, I have a PhD in psychology, so getting 26 kids to talk about this topic, and it's a good, you know, obviously the more sample population, the more your validity, the more you can prove your dissertation on a higher level. But I think this is a great start. I do see a pattern that once when the SROs phased out, crime started going, there's been kind of interruption with this youth thing. At one point, if I understand you correctly, you said some people were direct contact with their SROs. Can you tell me more about that? Did I hear you correct? Something about SROs and direct contact.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that all the youth who reported police contact had an interaction with a patrol officer. So it wasn't a school resource officer, since there isn't any in the San Rafael City School District as of September 2022.
What you've captured is kind of validates my perception when I'm out and about. Like, you know, when we see police officers interact with kids at Marin County Fair, handing out stickers, sitting in a police car, kind of those early memories of building that trust. And, you know, talking about participants express wanting more positive non-enforcement interaction with police to build trust. That's valuable information. I mean, that's kind of like when I talk to police officers, when I talk to kids, when I talk to my own teenagers, they want to see that initial interaction not be like a SWAT team responding to Davidson High School when there's a fight. They want to see like maybe there's an SRO there. They want to see like somebody who's kind of like a broker or advocate or someone who is in between, you know, the police department responding and the school. I do think this has been I keep hearing that from a lot of residents, from a lot of families, from a lot of parents saying like they do want someone there. Also here you say young people mentioned feeling comfortable reporting crimes and talking with officers. Youth express feeling safe around law enforcement, particularly view them as a source of protection. I think this is something worth, keep exploring, and hopefully we can invite you guys back, not to, keep making you work more. But it's nice that we have one of our own members with boots on the ground too, so represented. So I just want to, say thank you, and I do feel like this is a good place to kind of like consider other options as far as what we can do to address these needs, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to highlight that the interaction between youth and law enforcement can happen in various settings, and it isn't only limited to a school resource officer. And it could happen in a space where maybe there's brunch, police, youth getting together and having honest conversations. So I would say let's be energetic and creative about this, and see what we can put together.
I will add one more thing. When we sit on these police oral board hearings, when we interview police officers, when we ask, like, some of them have these early memories of, police handing them a card, baseball card, or doing, those early positive interactions with, like, the SRO, or being part of the cadet, or, being at the May Madness car show and they saw something. So anyway, I do think this is valuable info. Okay. Let's go to, I would like to invite public.
Sorry, can I say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I sort of just wanted to touch up on what Darius said. I know I jumped right into the questions. I do want to say thank you because I know this was such a thoughtful research project as well. I did major in criminal justice, so this sort of stuff is a lot of what I did in college, just not at this front level sort of stuff. But just because we brought up the topics of SRO, I did want to ask a question to staff and maybe chief. On average, what is the response time to go to a school? Like, let's say there's a random call. How long would that take?
So I don't have the number for you. It depends on the nature of the call, and it depends on the status and availability of our on-duty personnel. If it were, I'm just going to editorialize, if it was a heavy-duty call, officers would clear and they would respond what we call code 3, and they would get there. If it's a service call where things have stabilized, it would take longer, and again, it just depends on the circumstances for what's going on any given shift.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to invite public comment in person. Please.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for your report. I feel like it's a good start, and there's a lot of good data in there. You can see that students of color are over-policed and referred to probation, and way outsizing how they represent in the community. And I think for me, the question is always, why should there be police at school, at an educational institution that a lot of kids cannot access their education when police are there? So I want to tell you that when police were in schools in San Rafael, before the students spoke out and got them removed, 94% of students arrested and referred to probation by the school resource officer were Latinx, despite making up only 60% of students. 90% of students given a citation by a school resource officer, Black or Latinx, despite making up only 61% of the population. A student said, I don't have any personal experiences. However, having a police officer with a gun in a school during this time, especially a school as diverse as San Rafael High School, makes me extremely uncomfortable. I believe we should instead focus on services such as mental health specialists, therapists, and social programs, rather than just having threatening presence on campus. I understand that the main goal of the program is to keep the kids in this community safe. But the unfortunate truth is that there has been more harm done than good. They are doing more policing of children than protecting. Children of color are forced into the school to prison pipeline when there are police on campus. I want to be clear, there should be police who are trained to work with students, with young people who can build good rapport. That does not happen at school. School resource officers were started in 1950 to cultivate informants during the civil rights movement. I don't think we want that happening to our kids. White parents feel safe mostly with police at school. Parents of color and kids of color do not.
Thank you for your comments.
Sí, yo pienso que el estudio es muy importante y yo creo que hay que tomarlo como referencia. Y pienso de que hay que considerarlo muy bien y me gustaría saber si el Departamento de Policía piensa hacer algo con ese estudio, como lo que dijo Heidi, de que realmente hay que tener a la gente capacitado a trabajar con los niños. Y sabemos de que a veces hay una psicología ya contraria a lo que se ha dicho anteriormente, de que los jóvenes le tienen miedo a la policía en vez de confianza. Y yo creo que si realmente se va a tomar en cuenta esta sugerencia y que se crea una persona dentro del Departamento de Policía que sí sea para que garantice que el niño se sienta cómodo, no incómodo. Gracias.
Well, I think this study is very important, and I think that we should take this and use this as a reference. It really is something that I wonder whether the San Rafael Police Department is going to be running with this data, and whether we will have someone within the department, within the police department, to work with the youth, because the youth is wary of the police. And we know that there's a psychology to this as well. So we need someone that is going to instill confidence into the youth. So that the youth can feel comfortable in speaking with them. So I hope we really consider moving forward and having someone within the department to work with them.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Hania. Thank you so much for the presentation. I think something that I found really valuable in the results of the survey was the slide on challenges in youth engagement. So when I look at things like lack of respect due to negative personal experiences, or race or policing, or feeling that the police treat them differently than adults, to me, that's something that needs to have a change within the police department itself. For me, this has very little to do with changing the way that students feel about the police department as an external thing, but rather changing from within. And then if we make those changes in the police department, if there's a real shift in police culture and the interactions that police have with students, then maybe those perceptions will change. But I don't really think it's the students' responsibility to change their view of the police without the police department making these internal changes that address some of these challenges that they identified in the study. There's also been a lot of talk about, okay, how can we have this like dialogue between police department and students, reaching understanding, stuff like that. But I really have to reiterate that school is for learning. Like the purpose of school is to learn, and there's also like socio-emotional stuff like that, but having a good relationship with the police is not a school topic. It's not a goal of being in school. And so if you want to have those types of relationship connections, communication, dialogue, I really encourage that it be done outside of the school. I don't see how school has anything to do with that, really. There are a lot of other opportunities for that type of dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any more public comment. I'd like to go Zoom. Ms. Komoda, is there anybody on Zoom? No? Okay. I will close public comment. I will ask the staff to respond to any questions from the community, if any.
Just one point of order. So I got here in March of '21, and the school resource officers had been taken out of our schools prior to that. So I think we're talking about September of 2020, not 2022.
Okay.
So in my 5 years, we haven't had SROs at all. So we're talking about September of 2020.
Thank you for the clarification, Chief. Okay. We will move on to our final step here. Do you have any recommendation from this presentation that should be included in the annual report to the City Council? Member Alm, would you like to come back to your old seat here? Okay, we'll give you a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. If I have a recommendation after hearing the lived experience of youth, I want to have assurance and be assured that we have a specific training program on youth interaction, that it is instilled in policy, and it's like would be a continuing education program as far as youth interaction. I think that would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
Also, I would add that I think we should continue this subcommittee,
Nice.
but find other members.
Chair DeViti,
Yes.
just to address that. So as a point of order for a subcommittee, the subcommittee was formed with a specific task. They've now completed that task. If they continue to have work with an unending date or not a specific product, then that becomes now a Brown Act body, and it would have to be a public meeting. So a subcommittee has a short duration with an end date or end task or a product to come back to the committee with what their findings are. So to continue an ongoing study with not a definitive or a finite item or date, it becomes a public meeting, and it'd have to be a Brown Act body at that point. So it
Chair,
no longer
I'll
becomes a subcommittee.
amend my recommendation. I hear you where you're coming with that. Maybe I would make a recommendation, we review youth and policing on an annual basis as a topic of conversation.
I support that. Actually, that's what I was thinking. Hopefully, when we get to vote on what we'd like to have next year, we can definitely put this on. Thank you. Thank you for the explanation, Ms. Kamoda. I will go now to Member Camino.
Well, I definitely agree with what Member Alm has said, and I think it would be, I've heard the recommendation, excuse me, to add another youth member. If that is a positive thing, I certainly would be in support of that, and I think it would be always good to have another point of view. I think it would be up to the City Council to either remove one of us and add a youth or make the committee larger. I'm not sure how it would be done, but I'd like the council to consider it in some fashion. And I also would like the city, and I know it's up to the school, and Member Rodas probably would know more about it. I'm actually going to have a meeting with Carolina Martin, who's the president of the school board. She happens to be my neighbor, so we're going to chat about the whole topic. I think it's important. I understand the comments from the public about police being in school, but I also know that a lot of families feel that it's important to be a safe, that having a police officer will make it a safer community. I realize there is no agreement, but I think that the conversation should be had. So that's what my thought is.
Thank you, Ms. Camina. I will go to Member Rodas.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Daniel Alm about continuing this sort of study, and with Camina about just having the conversation. I know some people don't have certain feelings about introducing SROs, but I think the conversation should at least be had, just for us to go through whatever data we have. I think that'd be valuable.
Thank you. Member Ruiz.
Mi comentario es, al escuchar que una persona o un joven tuvo una mala experiencia con la policía, estoy de acuerdo de que la policía que va a atender alguna llamada con un problema con los jóvenes en las escuelas o donde estén, pues que esté capacitado para no lastimar al chico. Si le están diciendo, me estás lastimando, por favor no uses tanta fuerza conmigo, pues que se busque una manera de cómo llegar a ellos. Yo sé que no es fácil, yo sé que la juventud piensa diferente, pero sí me gustaría que la persona que estuviera encargada de ir a atender esa llamada tuviera un poquito más de experiencia con todo esto que ha pasado para que los jóvenes puedan tenerle confianza a la policía. Ese es mi comentario, gracias.
Well, I think I'd want to comment on what I'm hearing. It makes a lot of sense. I think the youth, if we were to get a call from a youth that's had a bad experience with the police, I would think that the person tending to the call, whether it's at a school or wherever they're going to meet this person, and if the youth is telling them you're being forceful, you're using too much force, that we can hear them. And the person that tends to the call that's going to interact with this youth has had proper training, perhaps, in how to do so. Because we know the youth thinks differently than an adult would. And so I would think that the person taking that call would have the training and have the full capacity to interact appropriately with the youth. So I think this is something that would be very important.
Thank you. Member Tokolahi?
Thank you for the presentation, though. Like I said, like this is just a lot of stuff to read. I know this is a separate study. I remember the last month I brought up the idea of, speaking to families from outside about the SROs. And I wanted to clarify, out of the 31 families that I've talked to, none of them are white, because I know, already what they're going to say. I know there was a public comment saying, like, you're probably talking to white people. I'm here to state that out of the 31 family that I talked to about SROs, they were all Latinos. And they all went to school here in San Rafael. The point is, like, with a report, it doesn't, you guys were not doing a report on SROs, but it's, to me, it's kind of like relating a little bit, to your separate findings. There were issues stand out to me, which is safety, trust was a huge one mentioned, in being inclusive, with these kids. I also like the idea from one of the presenters about being creative about having a SRO if, I don't know, the issues with the San Rafael School District, their decisions on not having SROs, but spinning the idea of, like, I also don't like police officers carrying guns in the school, but we can spin the idea, like, be creative, like maybe a Lynn Murphy, like, going to the school, like someone who works in the police department, who studied maybe psychology, or let's say, with students or with kids, but they don't have to carry guns, I still like having someone in the school, but not with guns. But I also don't know the reasons why they got kicked out from the school district, judging by looking at the numbers, like, it was very low until SRO is gone, and then, everything goes up. And it's also understandable from the public views that whether there's SROs inside or not, numbers could go either way. We don't know. There might be other factors to that. I love the recommendations, I also want to see this as a continuation. We want to find out more.
Thank
you. It's a lot, but I don't know. We'll see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Alternate Member Locks?
Just have to hit it the right way. As has been stated, the research wasn't a research of SROs. And when we talk about there being an increase, perhaps since the SROs are out of the schools, it wasn't explained clearly if we're talking about incidences within the schools, because the SROs only deal with what's happening on the grounds, not what's happening in the neighborhood. So to me, those are, conflicting areas. So I would like for Member Alm to put forth a motion for the revisiting of the topic as an annual revisit, and we vote upon it. I feel it's very important that we not continue to have in our reports recommendations that have not gained full support by the numbers. Consensus cannot easily be measured. And so that's why I always like for us to say, each have a say by voting. So, Member Ong, what's your feelings about that?
I want us to have flexibility in January, when we do our annual planning. It will be my number one recommendation that we put this forward. I want this to be a body of equity and all of us to have a vote on it at the time when we do our yearly planning. I'm not going to put forth a motion to take a vote on it now.
Would you consider making a motion for it to be considered in January on the calendar?
Well, I think that's obvious. We would.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah.
I know this
Okay.
comes up every time when we get to this phase. I just want to say I'm with you. It's my priority also, so I will make sure that this does come up, but. Right. No, so I appreciate, thank you. I don't have anything new to add. I think I do definitely want to learn more about SROs, more about youth policing, and I'm aligned with the majority of people who want to make sure this is a priority for next year's agenda to be revisited. And I will close my comment. And before we move to the next regular agenda item, would you like to break for interpreters?
Chair, we can proceed at this time.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to introduce okay.
I can introduce it if you'd like.
Please, I would like to give you the honor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair DeViti and committee members. We are going to bring back the topic of human trafficking for discussion. Just a reminder, in March, 2 months ago, we received a presentation from Service Provider Perspective featuring representatives from Speak Safe and Marin County District Attorney's Office and Redemption House. During that discussion, committee members expressed interest in continuing this conversation and requested additional information on how directly the San Rafael Police Department handles, investigates, deals with, in combating human trafficking. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Detective Karina Ornelas, who will be providing an overview of the role the San Rafael Police Department plays in combating human trafficking within our community. Detective Ornelas is our current sexual assault detective and is the department lead in human trafficking cases. She will discuss our department's approach, partnerships, prevention efforts, and enforcement strategies. But before I do turn it over, I do want to remind you all again that last year, 12, 13, 14 months ago, we did have an in-depth presentation on human trafficking. Detective Ornelas is just going to provide a general overview and be available for questions that you may have. So with that, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Detective Karina Ornelas. I recently took over the adult sex crimes position in the investigations unit in March of this year. So like Lieutenant Eberly said, my caseload is adult sex crimes, but I also work on human trafficking cases. So I'm just going to go into some reasons of why labor and human trafficking are some of the most underreported crimes. In these types of cases, we see that victims do not often identify themselves as victims. There is often a fear of retaliation. There may be language or culture or even immigration barriers. There's often isolation and control where the victim is isolated from essentially their environment or from other people. There's also a shame or a sort of shame, stigma, or trauma that can stem from these, from the human trafficking victimization. And there's also a hidden nature of the crime component that we see in these cases. So San Rafael police personnel are trained to recognize the following as common to human trafficking victims. So we often see that there's a reluctance to speak openly to police officers and even disclose any details. Victims often appear nervous and there's a lack of eye contact. And we may even see victims with multiple phones in their possession or they're always on their phone. Another common trend that we see is that a victim may have little to no personal identification on their person. We may get a name from them just verbally, but nothing to corroborate who they are. Victims often refuse any kind of resources offered to them. And we have also seen that they claim that they do not work with a trafficker and they're doing everything on their own volition. So just to give a bit of a backstory, a blade or a track is an area well known for the selling of commercial sex where victims walk back and forth waiting for people to solicit them. In San Rafael, the known track area is in the Canal neighborhood. Other than the blade or the track where we see human trafficking victims present, there's also a presence online, and this is seen in the form of ads on websites. So in these circumstances, the trafficker or a victim can create an online ad on different escort websites, which in hindsight to the public may look legitimate. As of January of this year through June 15th, there were 5 calls for service related to human trafficking, and in the same time frame, there were 8 total arrests, which stemmed from an operation that was conducted back in April. And just specifically going into some of the trauma-informed responses that our personnel focus on. So the San Rafael Police Department personnel are trained to separate all parties and interview separately for privacy reasons. Building rapport is another common technique used in routine investigations, which contributes to a trauma-informed response, as victims are more likely to disclose information when they feel heard rather interrogated. In policies 601 and 318, there's verbiage stating that SRPD personnel will engage with victims and witnesses with a trauma-informed approach and response. And then I'm just going to go into some of the practices, how we try to combat the issues is mainly through proactive operations. So the investigations unit is the lead unit that coordinates the human trafficking, operations. It should be noted that all the detectives in the investigations unit have a primary caseload. For example, I'm the adult sex crime detective, and others focus on juvenile crimes, violent crimes, property crimes, in addition to other responsibilities that we each carry in our role. So these human trafficking operations can vary. They can be done in conjunction with other agencies in the county and the DA's office, or it can be done just with the San Rafael Police Department personnel. When we host, we typically do the operation in San Rafael, but it is not uncommon to also do operations in other areas of the county. I'm going to go into two different examples of operations that we've conducted. So the first is a decoy operation, and in this kind of operation, officers go in an undercover capacity to target the buyers who seek commercial sex in the known Blade or Track area. And this is the op that we completed earlier this year in April. We have also done other operations, which we call chatting operations. So for these, chatters work in an undercover capacity to target the subjects who are interested in purchasing commercial sex, purchasing a date with underage girls or boys, to identify and arrest traffickers, and to assist potential victims of human trafficking. So there's a variation in the chatting operations. Other practices that we have to combat human trafficking is receiving ICAC tips, and ICAC stands for Internet Crimes Against Children, and it's a task force. So essentially, agencies receive cyber tips, which are linked to like our specific jurisdiction, and that in turn is something that we later investigate. We are also connected to the Innocence Lost Working Group, and that is a law enforcement group focused on sharing intelligence related to human trafficking and child exploitation cases. During the meetings, investigators can share cases, pass around like flyers essentially for cases that need more either victim or suspect information or of the sort. We could share new human trafficking trends that we're seeing, or we can just sit and listen and network. It's a great resource that allows us to expand our reach into the human trafficking world just outside of here, because human trafficking doesn't solely stay in one place. And within that Innocence Lost Working Group, we receive emails on a daily basis. There's hundreds of law enforcement individuals who actively seek help with their human trafficking cases on a daily basis. So to conclude, these are some of the practices we're implementing at the San Rafael Police Department. We have plans to continue efforts to address human trafficking while still respectively assisting victims of all other crimes as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Detective Ronales, for your report. I would like to ask if there's any questions from the committee. Member Alm?
Just reviewing the statistics, so most of our enforcement actions were through special operations.
Correct.
And how, outside of the special operations, we haven't really had any real activity.
Sorry, can you ask that one more time?
How can I rephrase that?
I'm happy to jump in. Can I take
Yeah.
a shot at it? So, you know, our patrol staff receive community complaints pretty routinely. Our patrol staff, as the detective has shared, are trained to observe certain behaviors in certain areas of town. So, you know, we do have a proactive response to it, but the enforcement operations are typically, as described by the detective, that coordinated operations with our personnel and oftentimes allied agency personnel.
Understood. I guess my question is, how could we as a PAC best support you in our recommendations? What would you like to see from us?
It's like a blank check when you ask like that. As an organization, we continue to collaborate with allied agencies, community partners. I think it's important that we network with CBOs and other nonprofits that help victims in this area. But at the same time, it's also important to educate the community about the activity and what's going on. And we've had conversations with residents in the canal, particularly in conjunction with the complaints that we receive. So it's really an ongoing awareness campaign, I think. And in terms of what we would want from the PAC is just your awareness of what's happening. It was mentioned in the past, staffing dedicated to this, but that's a pretty heavy lift, as you're all aware, and previous recommendations have been made. But I would just say, our educating you along with our educating the community at large is kind of step one.
I appreciate that. I hear you.
Thank you. Member Camino?
I don't have any questions, but I do have some comments for later. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Member Rodas?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation as well. How common, if at all, is it to re-engage with the same victim?
I think just based on my experience and from talking to other patrol officers, we don't see the same victims, at least here in San Rafael, on a daily basis. I think it's common for human trafficking victims to go to different areas, so we don't always engage with the same person over and over again, although we may see them from time to time.
Okay. And then, so it sounds like some of these operations are focusing on buyers. Is there any focus on the people who are sort of organizing this?
Yes. So, and just to go back to your first question, we could send you the presentation from last year, and it talks about what the victims are basically placed on what they call a circuit, and they go not only all over California, but all over the United States. And as far as targeting the traffickers, yes. And the only way really, Detective Ornelas kind of hinted on this in the beginning of her presentation, it's most underreported and hardest crimes ever that I've ever had to investigate. Nobody says anything. It's a supply and demand thing. There's going to be buyers, there's going to be, victimization. So the only way we really can do it is with the help of the other organizations, ICAC, she mentioned, Innocence Locks Working Group, and then being proactive on these websites. The unfortunate part about these operations take a lot of time, and they take a lot of time away from their primary duties. But when we are proactive on these websites, we can identify or get tips that there are some underage victims, also adult victims. So every time that we come across a victim or an underage victim, I want to say a victim. It used to be, a working girl. We treat them as victims. So in that investigation, we're focusing on trying to develop who their trafficker is. With all those things that Detective Ornelas said in the beginning, along with Lieutenant Duncan, last year, it is extremely difficult to get them to cooperate. But once in a while we do, so we don't ever give up trying, but that is pretty much the only way that we can identify the traffickers.
And then just a follow-up question. Are there any resources we offer so that these victims may feel comfortable being able to sort of give information as to who's setting them up on this sort of stuff?
At every operation, we do contact victim services. So there's either somebody from Community Violence Solutions that will be there, or somebody from the DA's office, victim witness. And so we do run into somebody who's being trafficked, a survivor. We will pair them up with them immediately and hopefully get them into some services.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Ruiz?
Thank you so much for your presentation, and I would like to know how you, in Spanish, ¿cómo estás educando a la comunidad? ¿A cuál comunidad? ¿A la de San Rafael en total o solo la comunidad del canal que somos los afectados? Me gustaría saber cómo es que nos estás educando, de qué manera lo estás haciendo. Gracias.
Can we have the interpreter?
So sorry. Yes, I would like to know how you're educating the community and actually which community you are educating. Is it all of San Rafael or is it just the canal, which is the affected area? So how are you educating the community?
Yeah, so, we have our ability to communicate with the community in formal and informal opportunities. For example, the Community Academy, when we have a neighborhood watch group or, even Coffee with the Cops, these discussions of prostitution activity and human trafficking issues come up, and that's our opportunity to engage with the community to report things that they see, see something, say something, and our detective supervisor also has the opportunity to provide outreach directly related to this type of activity.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, the translation, you're good?
Yeah,
Bueno, okay. Member Tokolahi?
I have a few questions. Thank you. It's very fortunate that the majority of these folks shows up in the Canal neighborhood. In San Rafael, like she was asking, primarily, are these folks just showing up in the Canal? Is there anywhere else in San Rafael?
So it happens not just in the canal. It happens in the canal. We see that activity. It also happens oftentimes unseen in hotels and other areas, not totally unrelated to the previous comment, but in the past there have been campaigns where law enforcement organizations and prosecutors will work with restaurants and other service industries on things to look for. So those suspicious potential trafficking operations can be reported. So that's not only to your point, but also to the previous point of our outreach.
I was just wondering, like, is there any way or anything we can do to work with, like, the Canal community, within the Canal community? Because I know there's, like, I don't know, a few hundreds nonprofit within there, plus the communities. I know they've been trying to work. Is there anything we can do or you guys can do to work within that community to, like, I don't know, push back with these folks?
Yeah, I think, enforcement of the traffickers and our continued cooperation with the nonprofits and community-based organizations allow for effective interaction with victims of sex trafficking. And that is probably a better touch point in terms of ending the continued victimization from a nonprofit or a community-based organization rather than a police officer. Right. So we're kind of all in it together in terms of what we can do.
Okay. My last question. Thank you. Something has come up in a lot of discussions, teen dating online. Is that part of you mentioned two, Operation Decoy and Chatting. Is that part of it too?
Can you explain more about
The
what
teen dating? There's a lot of on like cyber online. There's a lot of folks targeting or act like they're teen, but they're not. Just to lure these young people in. There's been a lot of talk in communities. I have two girls. Now I have a high schooler who talks about it. Heard it from other friends. That there's something called teen dating, and I was just wondering, is that on the radar or?
So it's on the radar in terms of like the ICAC investigations, the internet crimes against children, and the targeting or victimization of particularly underage individuals. We've talked about this before in previous presentations, and it sounds a little preachy, but it's knowing what your kids are involved in, knowing what sites your kids visit, what frequent, knowing what your kids are doing on their phones when they're alone in their room. Those kinds of things, just being in touch. Not always easy, but very, very important. And that is often where that victimization takes place, is different sites, including some online gaming sites. There are access to children, but the ICAC investigations is where law enforcement is able to make some of those connections and towards successful prosecutions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's go to alternate member Locke, please.
Thank you, Detective, for your report. Will you spell your last name for me, please? It wasn't on the agenda.
It's O-R-N-E-L.
Okay, L?
A-S.
A-S, thank you. Okay. Ornelas. Okay, the presentation was great. The question that I have is, I thought I heard you say that there was an arrest at a high school? Did you say that? I wrote down high school arrest.
No.
What did you say about, because that to me was like, what did you say about that? I thought I heard that.
We've had no arrests related to high school age
Yeah.
students whatsoever during our
Not doing,
operations.
yeah.
The only information I stated about the arrest was that there was 8 arrests that stemmed from an operation that was conducted back in April.
At a high school? Because I wrote
No.
down high school arrest, and I don't know why I wrote that down.
No.
No, but no, okay. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. This is something that came up in past few presentation, meaning the arrests are made, but the prosecution is hard. Like, people don't want to participate. So you guys do all the hard work arresting people. Then later, the witnesses don't want to rat the traffickers. Is that still happening? And I'm not sure if you feel comfortable answering. Have any information on are people actually being prosecuted on these crimes? So one is arresting them, one is being actually going to jail.
Yes, there is prosecution for the people we arrest.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
you're welcome.
I don't have any more questions. I like to open public comments. Anybody? Yeah, Ish.
Thank you so much for coming back and wrapping up on that presentation from several months ago. I just wanted to highlight and appreciate Chief Spiller's comment about the breaking the law part for the traffickers, and then that there's a set of community-based organizations that really help support the victims. And that ties into what you've heard me say a bunch of times about community has a pie definition of what safety looks like for them. Police are a small piece of that pie, and there's a role that police can play. And I think one of your roles that's really important is understanding what makes community members feel safe and who does what. Because victims wouldn't necessarily feel safe having the police be the person who supports them after they've been trafficked, but there are CBOs that have counselors and people who are trained to support them. And that's what we heard from students in schools too, was that we need mental health counselors. We need, when someone's suicidal, they don't need to be handcuffed and taken out. That happened at a Novato school, and it was traumatizing for the student and everyone. And so just thinking more broadly about whose role is it to do what. You know, the police have expanded in a lot of ways that I think they don't like either, where they're called for, you know, trash left out or things like that. Like, so help, like figure out who can help. They already have systems in place for victims. There's other places where they can have systems in place where everyone's doing their part to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any more public comment. Ms. Komodo, are there any comments on Zoom? Kind of quiet on the Zoom, okay. I will close public comment. I will now ask our committee, do you have any recommendation from this presentation that should be included in the annual report to the city council? Member Alm.
My recommendation is I do definitely want to put a pin into my ask and the response from Chief is more awareness and whatever we can, however we can reiterate that to City Council. It would be great if we could find funding for media awareness or grants or wherever we can find additional funds to help increase that awareness. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you. Member Camino?
One of the comments that I wanted to make is that, which will hopefully lead to a recommendation. Just recently, and I just happened to get a press release that there was a combined operation, this is with their different federal agencies. So there's HIDA is high-end density drug trafficking, the Special Investigations Unit that has a San Rafael police officer attached to it, NCRIC, which is the Northern Justice System, I'm probably not saying it correctly. So there are a lot of agencies that, for me, trafficking just can't be San Rafael. It's obviously an area. And so I think in our community of the broader Bay Area, these agencies have worked very well together. And I know recently from the press release that in May there was a coordinated effort, and it included the FBI, the district attorney, the Novato Police Department, San Rafael, probation. And so my recommendation would be that we continue to do this combined work, and regularly and often.
Yeah, to your, I'll just jump in.
Please.
To your point. So there have been, you know, when you think about regional draws to our area like Super Bowl or FIFA, these are events that can intensify some of this trafficking for sexual activity or for selling sex. So I have participated in an executive brief in San Francisco on all of the Bay Area agencies, including tourism, hotel management, all to talk about this issue, what to look for, how we're combating it. Detective Ornelas' supervisor and I attended an operational briefing on what's happening like as we speak, because FIFA is taking place. So these are all things that, again, that we collaborate on, and we continue to work with the community, not just the San Rafael community, but the community at large. And these particular examples that I share with you are largely impacting the 9 Bay Area counties, as well as southern to Monterey, et cetera. So yeah, your point is a good one, and it requires collaboration and continued commitment. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Rodas.
Yeah, I'd recommend that we have a stronger focus on these traffickers as well.
Thank you. Member Ruiz.
A mí me gustaría lo mismo que el compañero, seguir siendo informados aquí en el comité de cómo siguen las investigaciones, porque a mí como ciudadana del canal se ve muy mal estas chicas todas las noches afuera de nuestra calle, porque yo vivo en esa calle y créanme que no es divertido ver esas pobres muchachas que las están explotando. Se ve mal, de verdad. Y muchas gracias por su investigación.
I would like to continue to be informed about this conversation, about the studies, especially in Canal, because it looks very bad. The girls are outside. I live there and I see them and it's not good. It looks bad. And thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you. Alternate Member Locks.
I'll be brief. I recommend that we, the staff recommendation is that we provide the additional comments be added to our March 18th special presentation.
Thank you.
That's all I
For-
have to say.
Thank you. Fatai, I think I skipped you, right? Did you go? No. No.
I can go, yeah.
No, don't go. No, please, specific recommendation.
Just to add on to these recommendations, to include PAC, especially when it comes to raising awareness in the communities. I see us, we can do that part of the job. You know, the other stuff, you guys do that. But raising awareness, please include PAC. We can help.
Thank you.
How do you see us including PAC? What does that mean?
Oh, we can go out there in the communities and talk to them about it. That's, yeah, community engagement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, it's a good point. I think this is as much as a police responsibility, it's a, bystander responsibility too. I recently took a class, Center for Domestic Peace, inspired by Speak Safe. It was called NTAB. There was a woman that was just educating. It's just like, once you kind of catch this bug, you want to learn more. And, so just the concept saying, are you okay? You need help. Sometimes these victims are there, and if you see something shady, it's just a matter of saying, hey, like, do you need help? And that could have huge effects. So as much as it's your responsibility, it's a community's responsibility, it's a partnership. So I just want to say that. I don't have anything else to add. I think we can wrap it up. We're at 8:01. Meeting is adjourned.